तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः.
Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadatatam Bhuigrananti Ye Bhuridajana. We are studying here the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we are in the conversations of April 22, 1883, and that is the semi-annual Brahmo festival celebrated in Veni Madhav Pal's garden home at Siti, which has come in the second time in this gospel. And there we had beautiful conversation where the devotee, Brahmo devotee, makes Thakur tell us pinpointedly many points of spiritual life. And Thakur is of course up to that, and he has explained. Then the formal service happens. And after that formal service, Thakur is talking to the preacher who conducted that formal service. And this preacher seems to be a scholar. He knows some Vedanta also, and Thakur is bringing him towards the Sakar Upasana. So we can pick up like that if we want. We pick up from after thus the preacher of the Brahma Samaj conducted this service from the pulpit. The service was interspersed with recitations from the Upanishads and the singing of Brahmo songs. After the service, the master and the preacher conversed. Master has brought him to that conversation. Master wants to tell that Sakar and Nirakar both are true, so he starts the conversation. Otherwise, the Brahma preachers talk apparently about Upanishads, but about the Nirakar Sagun Brahman will be more impressed in the people's mind, which is not desirable. So Thakur starts the conversation. Master, well, it seems to me that both the formless deity and God with form are real. What do you say? So Thakur wants to involve that man in that. And there is no reference, though he is talking of Nirakar. So Thakur introduces the topic of Sakar and asks him, how do you feel about it? So he wants to involve that man. Preacher, sir, I compare the formless God to the electric current which is not seen with the eye but can be felt. So that preacher has avoided replying to Thakur's Sakar thing, and he tries to explain the Nirakar thing, which also does not seem to be quite right. So Thakur leaves that side and emphasizes again, Master, yes, both are true. So he has left that man's argument totally aside, and his own side he says yes. Not that that man has said and Thakur agrees, but he says yes, both are true. God with form is as real as God without form. As real for the sake of worship, both are on the same level, it is equally true. Do you know what describing God as being formless only is like? So Thakur explains what is formless. And he takes the example of a flute which has 7 holes for 7 notes. But someone likes to play only one note, while the other plays on all the 7 notes and brings out different melodies. So that is the Orthodox Hindu. And the Brahma Samaj people harp only on Nirakar, that to convey how it is linked with the Sakar, same level, same flute. One swara only, many swaras. Many swaras give us infinite melodies, and one swara gives only one swara. So that is how Thakur talks. Do you know what describing God as being formless only is like? It is like a man playing only a monotone on his flute, though it has 7 holes, but on the same instrument, another man plays different melodies. Likewise, in how many ways the believers in a personal God enjoy Him. Rasa Grahan is the main thing. Be devoted to God is the main thing. And as per your mind, in so many ways, so more chances of stable relation with God comes when you have the variety available. They enjoy Him through many different attitudes. The serene attitude, the attitude of a servant, a friend, a mother, a husband, or a lover. This we saw yesterday. You see, the thing is somehow or other to get into the lake of nectar of immortality. That is come in relation with God. Suppose one person gets into it by propitiating the duty with hymns and worship, as you are trying to do, and you are pushed into it. Other person is pushed into it by the Guru. The result will be the same. Both of you will certainly become immortal. So need not harp upon one attitude only. I give the Brahmos the illustration of water and ice. So repeatedly Thakur has told this Brahmos, and that he brings again here. Satchidananda is like an endless expanse of water. God, and the best name is Satchidananda. The water of the great ocean in cold regions freezes into blocks of ice. Similarly, through the cooling influence of divine love, Satchidananda assumes forms for the sake of the bhaktas. For the sake of the bhaktas, they have that love that is like cooling effect, and Brahman, Nirakar, takes up forms of some ice, specific forms. Water has no specific form, but it has a form. The rishis had the vision of the supersensuous spirit form and talked with it. So Thakur here is telling actual experience is what the thing is. So rishis talked. So all these indriyas can play while communicating with God. He is not available to eyes and all that. That means in the Swarupa, you have to transcend yourself. But that does not mean that on the way or after that Swarupa is realized, you cannot talk to him. So all the supersensuous experiences are accepted on the way or afterwards also. But devotees acquire a love body. So that also he has told previously, that devotees acquire a love body. That means the inner transformation becomes so much that this body consciousness evaporates, as it were, and due to sadhana, body means the receptacle of experience. So the love body and love eyes, love ears, and he has told previously even the love organs of sexual intercourse. And with the help, they see the spirit form of the absolute. So, what they are seeing God? The Chetan form. Though they are seeing forms, it is not material. It is the subtler aspect, and they are seeing the consciousness, and that is why that is as true as the Nirakar. It is also said in the Vedas. Now, when Thakur talks of Vedas, though he has not studied it, it means two things. He has heard Vedas from good scholars, one thing. And secondly, he has himself experienced. And so he talks of Vedas which have been experienced. There we'll see the difference. Anyway, it is also said in the Vedas that Brahman is beyond mind and words. Mind requires duality. Words require eye consciousness. And the absolute is beyond mind and body. So that he compares with his running example, the heat of the sun of knowledge melts the ice-like form of the personal God. On attaining the knowledge of Brahman and communion with his in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one realizes Brahman, the infinite, without form or shape and beyond mind and words. So, real beyond forms is the Nirguna Brahma. And that one realizes in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when he loses his eye consciousness. Otherwise, lower than that, it is specific forms and unspecific forms that Thakur has explained up till now by water and ice. The nature of Brahman cannot be described. So, Vani and mind does not reach there. That Nirakar means Nirgun. Real Nirakar means you do not exist as a separate entity. That is called Nirgun. And Nirgun is automatically Nirakar. About it, one remains silent. So, when one tries to express him, one loses oneself and so remains silent. Who can explain the infinite in words? So the words fail him. Not only that, he remains silent, means he himself loses himself. However high a bird may soar, there are regions higher still. What do you say? Now this is an illustration from the Vedas. And Thakur has mastered it. Thakur has experienced that. Now the preacher responds at this point, because he also knows the Vedas as the text. He perhaps does not have the inner experience, and that is why when Thakur is telling so many things, he is quiet. But when Thakur brings a sentence actually from Vedas, which he has read, he has the courage to say, yes, sir, it is so stated in the Vedanta philosophy. He says Vedanta philosophy. So he has studied the Vedanta Darshan also. And in that Vedanta Darshan, he has found this illustration. While Thakur has found this illustration in his actual experience. So we continue from here, Master. He gives an example. Once a salt doll went to the ocean to measure its depth, but it could not come back to give a report. According to one school of thought, so he melts that salt. We continue. But did not plunge into it. About Shukadeva, Thakur has told. Once I said to Vidyasagar, everything else but Brahman has been polluted as it were, like food touched by the tongue. In other words, No one has been able to describe what Brahman is. A thing once uttered by the tongue becomes polluted. Vidyasagar, great Pandit though he was highly pleased with my remarks. He said, we have learnt a new thing today. It is said that there are places near Kedar. It is said that, Kedareshwar Shiva, that is a peak in the Himalayas. So there, that are covered with eternal snow. He who climbs too high cannot come back. Those who have tried to find out what there is in the higher regions or what one feels there have not come back to tell us about it. So he gave illustration of the salt doll in the ocean, and now he gets the illustration of going too high from where one does not come back. So in any case, when one experiences Brahman deeply, then one does not come back normally. After having the vision of God, man is overpowered with bliss. He becomes silent. Who will speak? Who will explain? So another reason for not coming back is the immensity, or rather the infinity of the bliss aspect. Satchit Ananda Thakur has been telling repeatedly. So the existence merges in the existence. The consciousness merges in the real consciousness, and the bliss becomes overpowered by that bliss, and it is too much, one melts into it like. So melting into God has been described one way, salt doll in ocean; second way, Kedar or heights of Kedar; third way is that bliss aspect. So he cannot speak. Who will speak? Who will explain? That means speech is not possible, and that man himself is lost in the bliss. Now he gives an illustration for that. The king lives beyond 7 gates. At each gate sits a man endowed with great power and glory. 7 gates, okay, inner and inner compartments. At each gate, the visitor asks, is this the king? The gatekeeper answers, no, not this, not this. So one has to go beyond and beyond and beyond. The visitor passes through the 7th gate and becomes overpowered with joy. There he does not ask, he says sees the king and automatically understands and becomes mad with joy. So Thakur has been able to connect everything. He is speechless. This time he doesn't have to ask, is this the king? The mere sight of him removes all doubt. So, vidyante sarva samshaya tasmin drishte paravari. Preacher, yes sir, it is so described in the Vedanta. So, whatever he has read in the Vedanta, Thakur comes to that point again and again through his experience, and that man through his reading, and says, yes, that is also in the Vedas. Master, when the Godhead is thought of, Ishwaratva, so Godhead, that idea, or rather that experience of something which is God, is thought of as creating, preserving, and destroying. It is known as the personal God. Here is another important thing, is that God is impersonal and personal. Our sense of God is impersonal and personal. So, when God creates pleasures and joys is personal, he says that when God is thought of as creating, preserving, destroying, it is known as a personal God. So, good owner is how we experience. It is not God has two things. Again, vanishing happening today. What did you do my today? I don't understand. On mobile hotspot is all right. Now SIM card manager, SIM 1. Let's come back. Okay. It is vanishing and by product is good. So when it is thought of as creating, preserving and destroying is known as the personal God, Guna Brahma. Same thing is called primary energy, power of preserving and destroying. Adya Shakti, different names is explaining same level of experience is called in these different names. Today we are having problems. What is happening? We resume. There was some technical fault. We resume. Then it is called the attributeless reality, Nirguna Brahma, beyond speech and thought. This is the Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman. So different names for that also Thakur provides. And both places he says, when we think like that, it is like that. Under the spell of God's Maya, man forgets his true nature. Now it is connected with man's true nature also. He forgets that he is heir to the infinite glories of his father. So the father and son relation is there. But actually, the relation is like identity. And so whatever the father has, the son has. So he has the infinite glories of his father. This divine Maya is made up of three gunas. And all these three are robbers. So long as we are deluded with the gunas, they act like robbers. They do not allow it to go to reality. For they rob man of all his treasures and make him forget his true nature. The three gunas are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. We have read this again and again. Of this, Sattva alone points the way to God, but it does not reach up to God. But even Sattva cannot take a man to God, because Sattva will show the way, but God is Triguna Tita. Unless we go beyond the range of gunas, we cannot realize God. Let me tell you a story. So he illustrates this. Once a rich man was passing through a forest when three robbers surrounded him and robbed him of all his wealth. After snatching all his possessions from him, one of the robbers said, "What's the good of keeping the man alive? Kill him." Saying this, he was about to strike their victim with his sword when the second robber interrupted and said, "There is no use in killing him. Let us bind him fast and leave him here. Then he won't be able to tell the police." Accordingly, the robbers tied him with a rope and left him and went away. After a while, the third robber returned to the rich man and said, "Ah, you are badly hurt, aren't you? Come, I am going to release you." The third robber set the man free and led him out of the forest. When they came near the highway, the robber said, "Follow this road and you will reach home easily." "But you must come with me, sir," said the man. "Come with me too. You have done so much for me. We shall be happy to see you at our home." "No," said the robber, It is not possible for me to go there. The police will arrest me. So saying, he left the rich man after pointing out his way. So illustrated, same thing through a story. Now the first robber who said, what the good of keeping the man alive, kill him, is tamas. It destroys. The second robber is rajas, which binds a man to the world and entangles him in variety of activities. Rajas makes him forget God. Sattva alone, so tamas, inertia. Raja, meaningless activity. Sattva alone, so rajas has no direction of itself. Sattva alone shows the way to God. It produces virtues like compassion, righteousness, and devotion. Again, sattva is like the last step of the stairs. Another example, sattva is like the last step. It cannot reach the roof. That we have to reach by going beyond Maya. Next to it is the roof. The Supreme Brahman is man's own abode. So that roof is where the man stays. One cannot attain the knowledge of Brahman unless one transcends the three gunas. Trigunatit has been explained again and again. Preacher, you have given us a free fine talk, sir. So there he wants to conclude, and he has appreciated everything. So, and he wants to talk to conclude. So he says like that. Master with a smile. Thakur understand, does not take offense. He also knows that there is time for them to go. Do you know the nature of devotees? When one devotee meets another, he says, let me speak and you listen. Because he had preached and Thakur has listened. And when you speak, I shall listen.